I got it. Okay, so I don't know what to say, but what do I say? How do I start? Don't do anything. Don't touch anything. It's filming.
You're too close.
Oh, well then. There you go. I got better.
Okay, so what are you doing here, Elizabeth? What's your purpose to be in Mississippi today?
Making a documentary.
Okay, let's start over. Say, I'm Elizabeth Tarantino and I'm here in Mississippi. Say that.
Okay. I'm Elizabeth Tarantino and I'm here in Mississippi.
I'm Elizabeth Tarantino. I'm here in Mississippi at the Gulf.
Well, I'm just making a documentary.
On April 20th, 2010, BP's oil rig, the Deepwater Horizon, exploded 50 miles off the coast of Venice, Louisiana, and almost immediately created a 5-mile-long oil sheen on the surface. 58 days later, the leaks were stopped, but not without leaving irreversible damage and a stain of sorrow, mistrust, and unforgivability to the victims of the disaster. This is their story.
From Exxon Valdez to Deepwater Horizon, over 56 million gallons of crude oil gets spilled every year.
Petroleum is found in thousands of everyday objects, such as shag rugs, biker helmets, aspirin, toothpaste, sunglasses, dice, lipstick, cups, and shampoo, and the list goes on and on.
I'll worry about the finger pointing and who's going to pay us at some point down the road.
Local officials increasingly feel desperate and furious at the response by BP and the federal government.
There's not much you can do but just watch it come.
Every day, another 200,000 gallons of oil hemorrhages into the Gulf of Mexico.
BP is responsible for this leak. BP will be paying the bill. But as President of the United States, I'm going to spare no effort to respond to this crisis for as long as it continues. And we will spare no resource to clean up whatever damage is caused.
President Obama's team has bashed BP's response, putting the company's chairman on the defensive.
This is like doing open heart surgery at 5,000 feet in the dark with robot-controlled submarines.
It's scary. It's truly devastating.
Temporary seals have failed. BP's permanent solution, a relief well, could take 90 days to finish. And by then...
There are scenarios that it could be worse than the Exxon Valdez. We're not sugarcoating this thing.
It's sad to think that this could have been prevented if the U.S. government had made BP use the same kind of fail-safe technology that the rest of the world has. I did some research into how this could have been prevented, and I found something called the acoustic trigger, aka the acoustic switch, a $500,000 device that could have stopped the spill on day one. The device is remote controlled and works from off-site locations. The two on-site emergency shutoffs didn't work. The acoustic trigger would have worked even if the rig had exploded or it had been abandoned. The acoustic trigger is required in other countries like Norway and Brazil, but after several closed-door meetings during 2003 Bush-era administration, regulations stated that the oil company did not have to have one installed, so BP chose to save $500,000 and ended up paying for it later.
There's a growing pool of evidence, to say nothing of the oil, suggesting a far more apt name for this spill, Cheney's Katrina. So why Cheney's Katrina? His former company, Halliburton, led by his former protege, CEO David Lesar, did the cementing to seal the Deepwater well, a process families of the dead now claim led to the fatal blowout. Halliburton confirming it finished cementing only 20 hours before the damn thing blew. Just like Halliburton had just finished cementing this Australian well when it blew on August 21st of last year, causing what is now called the Montara spill. A government inquiry still underway there, but zeroing in on the cementing process. 3 years after the American MMS found that 18 out of 39 offshore blowouts since 1996 have been caused by bad cementing, a 20-year Halliburton cementer who admitted screwing up in the Montara spill testified this March about his Halliburton training. Quote, "Have you been taught in training or otherwise become aware that problems with cementing are the #1 cause of blowouts?" His answer, "No, I wasn't aware of that." Almost immediately after taking office, Vice President Cheney began meeting with more than 100 oil executives, compiling a wish list of things they wanted. One thing the industry did not want was mandatory acoustic switches, which can shut wells remotely when blowout preventers fail. The administration knew preventers fail because the MMS found hundreds of incidents in which they did, but it reversed a Clinton-era decision to require the, quote, essential acoustic backups, calling them too costly, and those faulty blowout preventers a fail-safe.
If everyone put safety over profits, this tragedy wouldn't have happened, and the 11 men who lost their lives on the explosion would still be here. I couldn't do this project without mentioning the people who this disaster affected most, the men who lost their lives and their families who are left behind.
The media should never let you forget them. We should make sure that all the corporate executives responsible for these 11 deaths have to see their pictures every day, every night. Shane Roshto was a roustabout, 22 years old. He leaves his wife Natalie and his son. Roy Wyatt Kemp was a derrick hand, 27 years old, leaves his wife Courtney and 2 daughters. Carl Kleppinger Jr. was a floor hand, a Desert Storm veteran. He leaves his wife Tracy and 1 son. Jason Anderson was a tool pusher. He leaves his wife Shelley and 2 children. Stephen Curtis was an assistant driller. He leaves his wife Nancy, a son, and a daughter. Dewey Revitt was a driller. He leaves his wife Sherry and 2 daughters. Adam Weiss was a floor hand, 24 years old, high school football star. Leaves his girlfriend and family. Blair Manuel was a mud engineer. He leaves his fiancée Melinda and his 3 daughters. Donald Clark was an assistant driller. He leaves his wife Sheila and 4 children. Aaron Dale Burkeen was a crane operator. He helped get other crew members to safety in the minutes after the explosion, but could not get off the rig in time to save his own life. He leaves his wife Rhonda and 2 children. Gordon Jones was a mud engineer. He leaves a son and his pregnant wife Michelle, who is due to give birth 7 days from now. Just before the explosion, Gordon called Michelle. She told the Los Angeles Times, quote, his last words were, "I love you." 10 minutes later, everything changed.